Welcome to Rhonda here with Foods 101. Today I'm showing you how to make this old-fashioned bread pudding with a bourbon glaze. Absolutely fantastic. The ingredients you're going to need is 1 quart of half and half. That's going to be 4 cups. 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, 1 cup of sugar, a stick of butter at room temperature, 10 to 12 cups of brioche bread. Now, this is the kind of brioche bread that I love. It's a lovely, sweet French bread. I get it at Trader Joe's. It works out perfectly every single time. If you're not going to use brioche bread, use a day-old French bread. 2 cups of powdered sugar, 6 eggs, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 3 tablespoons of bourbon, and 2 tablespoons of pure vanilla extract. I'm going to show you how we cube this brioche bread. You're probably asking, what kind of bourbon am I using? I'm using the Ancient Age Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey today, although any bourbon will do. The way I cube my brioche bread is I just take 2 slices. I've already cubed a lot right here in this bowl. I start from the outside, or you can start from the center. And then we slice twice on the outside. And now I turn it this way. And of course, cut it down into bite-sized pieces. And the best knife to use is a knife with these little teeth on it. That's a serrated knife. It really does the job very nicely. Just like this. And if you want, you can remove the crust, but I like the crust on the bread because it has this lovely rustic look it gives to this bread pudding once it's baked. We're going to toast our cubed bread here on a large cookie sheet with sides. We're going to add a single layer, and your oven should be preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to spread this around until we get an evenly single layer. That looks absolutely fantastic. And now this is going to toast in your oven for the next 20 to 25 minutes. Cubed brioche bread, lovely and golden. I'm going to sit this off to the side, let it cool while I show you how to make the custard. In a large mixing bowl, probably the largest one you have in your kitchen, you're going to add all 6 eggs, and using a whisk, slightly give it a lovely little whisking. At this time, you want to add your 1 cup of sugar along with your salt, and we're going to whisk this until these 3 ingredients are well combined. Add your vanilla extract along with your heavy whipping cream. That vanilla smells so heavenly. And then I have these whispers of bourbon flowing through the air. And of course, when we toasted that brioche bread, it smells like I've just made homemade fresh brioche bread here in my kitchen. Just fabulous flavors and smells everywhere today in my kitchen. That looks absolutely perfect. Gonna get every little drop out. We're going to add that golden brioche bread. Slowly pour it in. Oh my gosh, they're lovely and golden. And you're probably wondering why I had parchment paper on my cookie sheet. Well, I like to lift it up to be able to get the bread in the custard a little easier. Next, we're just going to push this down. We're going to let this soak for 20 minutes before we add it into our 13 by 9 inch buttered baking pan. Now, if you want, you can leave this in your refrigerator overnight and then the next morning get up and bake it, or the day after. Now, to make sure our golden brioche bread cubes are submerged under this custard, I'm going to add a bowl and push it down, and I'm going to let this sit for 20 minutes. Set it off to the side, and meanwhile we're going to butter this 13 by 9 inch baking dish. I use about a tablespoon of butter. You don't need to use a paper towel. You can use your hands, but you want to make sure you get a lovely coating of butter here on your baking dish. This is ready for that old-fashioned bread pudding. After 20 minutes, your bread pudding will be looking like this, and that brioche bread has really absorbed that half and half and whipping cream. Now we're going to pour it into our prepared 13 by 9 inch pan. You may want to take your bread, move it around until it's evenly distributed in your baking dish. With the crust left on this brioche bread, it's going to make this lovely old-fashioned bread pudding. Oh my yums. Bake in a 325-degree preheated oven on the middle rack for 50 to 55 minutes. Use your timer and no peeking. About 15 minutes into the bake time, I can see that my bread pudding is getting a little brown on top. So I tinted a piece of tin foil, the shiny side out, and I'm going to bake this for the additional 35 minutes. 15 minutes prior to pulling our bread pudding out of the oven, I'm going to make that bourbon glaze. Add your butter here into the bottom of a small mixing bowl along with the powdered sugar. Now if you want to use an electric mixer to beat this together, you may, but I just go ahead and hand mix it. Now we're going to add the bourbon. Oh yeah, it's smelling good. Whisk this around until it's lovely and creamy, because we're going to dollop this on top of that bread pudding immediately after we pull it out of the oven. That way all these flavors can soak and absorb into our brioche bread. Oh my gosh, it's going to be delicious. I love to give it a lovely whisking. I call this my whisker size workout. I like to whisk it until it's lovely and smooth and looking absolutely creamy like this. Oh yeah. Yum, if you could be here and smell how delicious it is. If you'd like to add more bourbon to this, be my guest. If you would like to completely omit the old bourbon, it's up to you. I've got about 10 more minutes of baking on this bread pudding. I'm going to take off that tin foil so the top of this can get golden and lovely. Baked old-fashioned pudding. And look how beautiful that is. Before we add that topping, we're going to take a toothpick and stick it in the center and make sure it comes out clean, because you don't want any part of your old-fashioned bread pudding being unbaked. Next, we're going to take that glaze while this is still hot, and we're just going to dollop it over the top. Oh my goodness, it smells heavenly. We can just go ahead and spread it around, and this kind of reminds me of one of those big old huge cinnamon rolls. Oh my goodness, and I know it's going to be absolutely fantastic. That looks perfect, and then I'm going to let this cool down for about a half an hour before I dig into it. This is my first time making bread pudding, and gotta get a little scoop there. Oh my goodness, yum. It's still really super warm. I'm gonna give it a bite. Yep, first time ever attempting to make bread pudding. Let's see what it's gonna taste like. It tastes like baked French toast, y'all. It's absolutely delicious. With that brioche bread and that bourbon topping, and it's absolutely perfectly baked. You're not gonna go wrong with this old-fashioned bread pudding. It's to die for. Gotta come down here and show you what it looks like. Yum. Hey y'all, I'm Duranda with Foods 101. Leave me a comment, give me thumbs up, follow me here on YouTube or Instagram, and I'll catch y'all next time.